Hi, I'm Joe Borzotta, and I started writing the Gallery Guy blog about 10 years ago because I wanted to write about the art fairs, art galleries, and art news from the perspective of a painter, and also to help me remember names. When I started to think about doing a video series, I looked at other artists' interviews, and I found a lot of them to be kind of dull, static, and long, so I ran in the other direction, kind of to the extreme. And we created 5 Minutes with the Gallery Guy, which is literally a 5-minute interview with the artist that we shoot in either in their studio or an interesting location, and they talk about their background, what they're doing now, and where they are in their career. You can find these videos here or on YouTube, 5 Minutes with the Gallery Guy. And if you want to read the old blog posts with lots of interesting articles and photos, you can go to thegalleryguy.blogspot.com. Lastly, I'd like to thank all the artists who participated for their time. And also keep in mind, if you really want to support an artist or a gallery, the best way is to try and buy a piece of artwork if you can. Cheers and enjoy the videos. Hello, and welcome to 5 Minutes with the Gallery Guy. That's not the Gallery Guy. I am Joe Borzotta, and you're here for our very first premiere episode. And we're in Neptune, New Jersey, in the studio of Gary Mellon. Now, Gary does amazing work. He combines excellent craftsmanship with a unique vision. So, Gary, thanks for having us here.
Thanks for coming by.
And so, grew up in Michigan?
Yep, in northern Michigan, up here.
And you told me you came from a very creative family.
Yeah, I have artists going back in my family several generations. A lot of my cousins are involved in the arts in some way. My mom went to the Art Students League, and she was the one who got me started right away making stuff.
So at what point did wood and carving come into play?
When I was about 8, she bought me just a little X-Acto carving set. And I always had a little art table set up at her house, and she ended up she just had it right out of the box, and she was showing me for the very first time, and she ended up cutting herself pretty badly, and she still has a little nerve damage to this day. But I kind of kept at it, and off and on.
So I'm assuming she didn't continue with her carving lessons, and did you take any from somebody else? Or?
Yeah, the summer I graduated from high school, she enrolled me in this intensive 1-week carving class by this traditionally trained Italian wood carver. He had moved from Italy with his family to northern Michigan. He was probably in his 50s at the time. And 1 week out of the year, he would open up a studio, and there was about half a dozen students that would come from all over the country. I was by far the youngest person. They were mostly kind of retirement age, and they were like real serious hobbyists. They would have large projects shipped, and he primarily would just help them through problems. He would work through problems with them. And so he didn't know what to do with me, but he gave me set me up with this piece of wood and this kind of low relief pattern, and we ended up
took you under
friends.
His wing, so to speak, and that's great. And you stayed in touch with him for a long time after that?
Yeah. My mom has been friends with them ever since.
So then you went to college in Michigan, and then went to grad school, School of Visual Arts in New York. Now, when I first saw your work, I thought you were working from one solid chunk of wood, but that's not the case. So can you show us?
Yeah, this
piece.
I glue them up. I glue up blocks out of 1x poplar, which when I first went to my studio in Brooklyn. I started doing this about 5 or 6 years ago. I was kind of in between artistic directions, and I happened to find some poplar in a dumpster, some pieces, and it's kind of a cheap wood. You can get it at Home Depot. It ranges in color from yellow to green, and it happens to carve really well. So
dumpster scavenging is an art in itself.
Yeah. And it was I just kind of it just occurred to me just to glue it into a block and carve it. But it was also in life, a lot of independent things come together to point you in a direction. I was also working for this artist who was doing stone carving and figurative stone carving, and so through him I was exposed to a lot of artists that I hadn't thought about since art school, like Michelangelo or Bernini, and so that was in my head, and so
and you also
that was
had
where
paint to some like the one in the back.
Yeah, and that one A lot of things, you know, I haven't been carving all the way along. I've done a lot of different things. And, you know, I was painting for a while. And so I still have, a lot of the elements in my sculptures come from just urges to still, you know, do this or that.
Mm-hmm.
Like, and so painting is still something, I still have the urge to like, want to paint on something. Mm-hmm. So, you know, that's just a way to combine it with
mm-hmm.
sculpture. Was that just to carve a shape?
Yeah. Well, they're amazing. And some of them, I think I've seen one was like about 12 feet.
Yeah. I've made like,
yeah.
They got bigger like really quickly.
They're amazing. And Gary, he was just featured in High Fructose magazine, which is big. And if you want to see more of his work, because 5 minutes goes fast, go to GaryMellon.com, GaryMellon.com. Thanks so much for
having
us, my first guest, and we'll see you next time on 5 Minutes with the Gallery Guy. Before cell phone cameras, people used these babies with film and dark rooms, and when you were done shooting, you took your stuff to Photomat. I had my little Kodak X15 Instamatic with magic cubes and everything. And some artists are fortunate enough to straddle both worlds, the film world and the digital world. And we're here with one of those photographers, the very talented Sara Stadtmiller. We're here in Neptune at her home. And I know you as a Jersey girl, but you were born in Michigan, right?
Yeah, I was born in Michigan. We moved here when I was about 2 or 3 years old, and then my parents split, and my dad moved back to Michigan, where he was from, and so I would spend summers and vacations there, and then actually spent 7th and 8th grade and 11th and 12th grade there as well.
Okay. And are those trips where you met Gary?
Yep, I met Gary in 7th grade. He was in 8th.
We're talking about Gary Mellon, who was our first featured artist in our very first episode, who is Sarah's husband. So your dad was a musician, right?
Yep, my dad, he played in a band all my life. That's how he supported himself. So that definitely informed the freedom I had to choose a career in art.
Sure. So what point did the photography come in?
In high school, my freshman year of high school here in New Jersey, I took a media graphics course that had like a photography portion to it with the darkroom and everything. And I just, I had a knack for it. It came pretty easy to me, and I felt good at it, and it just felt right. And that was that.
Did you continue on to art school with majoring in photography?
I did. I went to Montclair State for art, and I was an art major with a studio concentration in photography.
So after you did the commercial scene?
Yeah, right after, I went to school for art, hoping to make art as a living. Right after school, I started working full-time in darkrooms, 2 days a week in a black and white darkroom for a portrait photographer in Red Bank, and 3 days a week in a commercial color darkroom, working for blowing up other enlargements for professional photographers. So it was a couple years of 40 hours a week in darkrooms, which was pretty great.
So you don't have to deal with chemicals anymore, right?
Yeah.
Except in your own work, because you still do it old school style.
Yes, I still shoot with, like, this camera is a film camera. This Hasselblad takes 120 film. Both of these images were made from that camera. I call that one the Dream Machine.
Yeah, they're indestructible. So speaking of your work, were there any people you worked with or teachers you had that were an influence on your fine art aspect of photography?
Well, my main professor at Montclair, Klaus Schnitzer, was definitely a huge influence on me, and he introduced Hiroshi Sugimoto to me. That was probably the biggest first fine art artist that really hit me as work I wanted to emulate. He did very long exposures, a series of long exposures with seascapes and with these movie theaters that kind of took this moment of time that photography captures, this fraction of a second, and expanded on it, extended it.
Well, living so close to the Jersey Shore, that must come in handy.
Yes.
Do you still use it to inform your work, the long exposure?
And I did a whole series of my own seascapes right here along up and down, and it's something I still think about and enjoy doing.
Yeah. Well, your work is gorgeous, and if you want to see more of it, go to sarastadtmiller.com, SaraStadtmiller.com, and let's sign off with Sarah's greatest creation, if I may say, lovely Luna, who's 10 months old now?
Yep, just
So you're
over
gonna
10
be-
months.
You're going to be famous someday, kid. You're going to be a picture. She agrees with me. So we'll see you next time. Thanks, John, our photographer. We'll see you next time on 5 Minutes with the Gallery Guy.
Good job, Lone.
Good job, kid. The artwork over there looks pretty good.
Oh,
I like the portrait stuff.
I like the whole neon thing.
Yeah.
Into
That's
the
kinda
drips.
Hi, we're here enjoying a craft beer at Dark City Brewing Company in Asbury Park, New Jersey, with another craftsman, my good friend and very talented artist, Kortez. And we're sitting here in front of a mural he did. So why don't you tell us a little bit about that?
Well, this mural is visual freestyle. I basically took the Tri-City News, the Asbury Park Press, and any type of hint towards, like, say, craft beers or the gallery or even myself, and threw it all in there and kind of did a visual freestyle. I really didn't have a start or a finish in mind to this. I just...
Yeah, that visual freestyle is a good way of describing your work. But so let's go back to the beginning. You grew up in Jersey. Did the
Yeah,
background
grew up
thing.
in Scotch Plains, New Jersey, born in Edgewater, New Jersey. And my parents got me into art by Play-Doh and paint by numbers.
Yeah, paint by numbers is the gateway drug for artists that I've come to find.
Yeah.
So, and you went to school at
Newark School of Fine and Industrial Art. So my art career basically started in Newark, New Jersey, and that's why I have such a love for Newark, New Jersey.
and you were doing musical engineering and DJing, right? Since then?
Right, I went to the Institute for Audio Research, and that really didn't work out. I spent more time in the park and trying to do the graffiti thing. And
What was the name of your crew? You had a crew you were with, right?
it was a crew out of Newark, New Jersey called BNS, Bomb Newark Streets, or Black and Strong. It would be kind of cool to revise it now that I'm doing the social commentary.
So where did all the social commentary start to come into your work?
In the 80s, there was a graffiti artist in New York by the name of Michael Stort who got killed by the police, and that was the first time I became aware of there's something else out there besides just being a kid and having fun. And so my parents also were really concerned, so every time I went out, they kept reminding me of Michael Stort and what could happen.
Was that a catalyst for you to switch over to canvas and?
Yeah,
working more in the studio?
my parents really wanted me to do work on canvas instead of walls and doing stickers on trains and so forth. So I kind of kept my foot in both worlds and found that putting stuff on canvas was a lot more better.
So with social commentary of your work, especially being a black artist and a black American, that informs a lot of your work. And a lot of your portraits are of black folk, and how they're not quite characters, they're very powerful, but they're, we were talking about that. Tell me, talk about that.
Yeah, there's an exaggeration to the figures, and my father kind of didn't like them. He said that they reminded him of some of the advertisements he would see during the 40s. And I kind of ran on that, and I think subconsciously I was really trying to dig at my father. And the fact that he didn't like it, it's kind of like listening to music that your parents don't like. I was doing it with my art.
That's really interesting. Now, how does it inform, now that you've gone beyond that point, how does it inform your work now?
Well, now it's more of appreciating those exaggerations and those features that are strong to me. Whereas one time the full lips and high cheekbones was something that I maybe wanted to shun away from, because as a kid, you're teased about certain features. Now that's something that I embrace and I love it, and putting it in the artwork is really cool.
Music, I know you're still DJing, right?
Yeah, I still DJ.
25 years or something?
Yeah, pretty long time, since like 85 I've been DJing. So because of my love of music, I kind of bounce back and forth, and putting some of those musical images on canvas, or inspired by the music, the inspiration from the music, throwing it on canvas is kind of cool. And then at the same time, it's like I could put myself in the arena of being in the club and painting live or DJing and kind of fusing it all together. So I really love doing that.
And where would you say you're at direction-wise with your work now?
After doing this mural, I really do want to work bigger and do installations. I'm venturing into doing T-shirts and fashion, so I kind of want to take the brand of esoteric urbanism and just put it out there, like just hold no bars and just really no limits to what I'm.
Speaking of esoteric urbanism, that's the name of Kortez's website, esotericurbanism.com. You're also on Facebook.
Facebook,
posts a lot of his
Instagram.
work. A lot of you show he's ubiquitous. Kortez shows a lot of places in North Jersey, New York, down here we're in the Jersey Shore area. And if you haven't seen his work, go to his website or go to one of these places, get on his email list, and I'm really happy to have you. I think you're. I kind of met you a couple years ago, and I saw something in your work, and it's really exciting for me as a curator and a fellow artist to see how much you're developing and how successful you're becoming. So,
thank you.
Cheers, bro.
Cheers.
Salute. We'll see you next time on 5 Minutes with the Gallery Guy. Hi everybody, welcome to this edition of 5 Minutes with the Gallery Guy. I'm Joe Borzotta. I'm here today with Joe Harvard. We're shooting because of the weather inside my Palette Art Space, which is my gallery here in Asbury Park. And one of the perks is that I look right out across the street onto the sculpture garden, which we're going to be talking about. And we had to shoot today because of the weather, because we had no choice, because this is a bittersweet day. Because we're finally getting able to interview Joe, but after we're done with the interview, literally right after this, Joe has to start disassembling it. 3 years ago, Sackman, a developer, graciously gave you the space at little to no rent, and the community's been able to enjoy it, but they're ready to go forward with their construction plans. And although it's hard to see at nighttime, it's full of day glow colors and black lights. We're going to get some footage in there a little closer later, but right now, Joe, tell us how you ended up there. How does this all come about?
Well, I came to Asbury in 2001 with my future ex-wife, and we rehabbed a house that we were able to get on 4th. And so I've been around for a bit. And then in 2014, Pat Scavino of Asbury Underground approached me about curating music, and that was the spot. So when I came to see it, I noticed this beautiful lot behind, and I talked to Pat, who talked to Sackman Development, and they gave us permission to do one-off shows. June 2014, October 2014, it was Mallory Massara's Abstract Steel. I was doing photos for the first one.
Right.
There was none of the, so this has evolved into a motif of the lost city in the jungle, which is apropos because what drew me here in the first place was the post-apocalyptic amusement park aspects of what was then a fairly deserted, depressing
it looks like
city.
Beirut. As you'll see in some of the work, as you get closer views of it, a lot of it, it's almost all of it's all
Trash.
garbage and
Yeah.
trash and repurposed
We
material.
don't pick recycling. Basically what I do is I go to one single dumpster every day in the complex where I live, okay, and one laundry with 5 machines. And that's where almost all of the stuff here, other than the little bottles, which come out of the street anywhere I am, I pick them up. So, and stuff from my house. So we don't pillage recycling. I rescue things that should be recycled. Most of it goes to recycling.
Right, which ties into your, hence your name, Joe Harvard. You went to Harvard and
I
majored
did. As an archaeologist, I was in archaeological anthropology, cum laude
totally
major.
makes sense.
And you know, that's beautiful thing is, like I said, it's unplanned. I realized I'm not an inventor, I'm an explorer. And over the course of the 3 years open to the public, I've come to realize what it is, and now I can push it that way. And we have these black light flashlights. You're an archaeologist, and you're in this lost city. Who are these strange people? Why do they use so much inorganic material? Obviously, it's kind of funny metaphor for 100 years from now what people may find of us. But at the same time, it's deadly serious kind of commentary on single-use plastics glutting the planet. So, you know, dwelling on this idea of something that was once useful and now has become a problem is part of my entire being. And I've always been a trash picker. I can't walk past something that's useful in the garbage and be like, oh yeah, I'm just going to leave that garbage there. You know, no, I can't do it.
Right. So I know people have been trying to help you find a new spot or storage. What's next
Next?
By the way, if we didn't mention, it's called the Garten.
Yeah.
The sculpture part. So what's next for it?
Well, the Garten at 713 Cookman will be just the Garten somewhere, I hope. Cookman Creamery right now has a gallery that they put in. Dr. Gina Bono has about 8 pieces in a gallery there. A lot of the big stuff is going to the Iris Arts Foundation in Lopez, Pennsylvania. But most of it, I have no idea. How big is your yard, Joe? I have a lot of art to put away. But, you know, wall stuff, I'm going to store a lot of it.
Great. Well, we're coming down to the end of the wire, and in more ways than one. But I want to thank you, and I think our cameraman John will also agree.
Thanks, John.
You've given so much pleasure to a lot of people over the past 3 years. It's just, I see it from here. My desk is right there.
It's an urban playground.
People love it.
Kids
All
in the
ages.
daytime, you know, freaks at night. It's
Exactly.
sad.
And
we are, of course, America's first outdoor blacklight trash art gallery. They can never take that away from us.
And that's a perfect place in.
Thank
Joe,
you, my friend.
Best of luck.
I'm
Cheers.
honored. Your gallery's
Thanks.
beautiful. Thanks, John.